let's look at the trueness side to side of the rear wheel here. I put this little ruler in here so you can see. We're zoomed in real tight, so the clearance between the indicator on the truing stand and the rim is very small there, and you can see the that's millimeters on the ruler, fractions of millimeters. So we'll give it a spin and see how they did on the trueness side to side. So you can see it's not perfect, but it's really good, and you'd never feel that. And if I move the pointer away like this, you can't see anything unless you really focus. So that's a nice true rear wheel side to side. Now I switched, and this is the front wheel. Let's check this one out. That's not perfect either, but it's a little more perfect than the rear wheel. So it's a tiny bit better. It's a really nice wheel. The rear wheel and the front wheel are both very nice and true. Now we'll switch and we'll look at roundness, look for up and down issues. So we're zoomed in really close. This is the front wheel. I'm going to check for the roundness of the front wheel. I'll put the ruler in here. I can't clamp it like I had it before, but I'll put it in here just so you can see what we're talking about. Fractions of a millimeter. Less than we were even looking at on the front, on the side to side, on the trueness. But this is roundness. Let's give it a spin. Check it out. I let it rub a little bit so you can hear it. That helps you see it too. You can, it just helps to hear it and see it. Now if I just turn the caliper out just a hair, it's not rubbing anymore. That's a beautiful wheel. It's super nice and round. So the front wheel is really round. That's a nice wheel. So switch, I'll put the rear wheel in. So here's the rear wheel. We'll check this for roundness too. You'll notice that I moved the other pointer away. It's hard for the camera to see this unless I set everything right. I have a piece of paper behind it, that white paper, so you can see the difference. Otherwise, you'd be looking between black and black. So anyway, it's a slightly different setup, but it's the same thing, and this is to check for the roundness of the rear wheel. So we'll give it a spin. Have this set so it'll rub a little bit, just like I did with the front wheel, so you have a chance to hear it. So it's rubbing a little bit, but if I just turn this knob out a tiny little bit, you can see the distance now. You can see, just like that front wheel, the rear wheel is, they really did a nice job. Very round. So that's beautiful for roundness and trueness. You're not going to see wheels much better than that. So ICAN did a nice job. The next check, we want to make sure that the rim was built so that it's centered over the hub. That will guarantee that when you put the wheel in the frame, it'll sit straight in the frame. And to do this, we have a tool called a dishing gauge, or a wheel centering gauge, or a centering tool. It looks like this. It's a pretty simple gauge. It's got feet on this foot here and a foot here. That's got a pointer here, which is adjustable. And you put it on one side of the rim and you adjust it so that all three things touch the rim. So, well, not the rim and the axle, the pointer in the middle hits the axle. And so you make a little adjustment, make sure it's perfectly adjusted on one side. And you get all three pointers so that they touch, they rest on it. And then you flip the wheel over and you check the other side. And if both sides match, you know that the wheel is perfectly centered. The rim is perfectly centered over the hub, and the wheel will perfectly center in the frame. Front wheel is spot on. So now we'll check the rear wheel. Same process. Flip it over. Yep, perfect. Just like the front wheel. Great job, ICAN. Those wheels are nice and centered. The rims are centered.